Hi guys. Okay, so today we are in the practice book for lesson 8.1. This is page P157. Number one is already done. They did it with the number strips. And they divided each set of 1 into 1/3. So they ended up with 2 divided by 1/3 is equal to 6 because 6 times 1/3 is equal to 2. Remember from yesterday, we were talking about how if you are dividing by the fraction, you end up with a whole number. If you're dividing by a whole number, you end up with a fraction, okay? So this time we were dividing with a fraction, so we ended up with a whole number of 6. Later on, a little bit later on, we're going to be dividing by a whole number, so we'll end up with fractions. Okay, so number 2 says 2 divided by 1/4. Whoops. Divided by 1/4 equals. So remember what I said. I have 2 sets. There's 4 in each set. So 2 times 4 is 8. I am dividing by a fraction, so I'm going to end up with a whole number. 8 times 1/4 is equal to 2, which is also true. Number 3. 1/4 divided by 2 is equal to, so I'm splitting the 1/4 into 2 parts. So 4 times 2 is 8. 1/8. I divided by a whole number, so I end up with a fraction. 1/8 times 2 is equal to 1/4. Okay, would you seriously decide how you want to be focused? Sorry, it keeps going in and out of focus. Number 4. 1 divided by 1/5 equals, so I have 1 set, and there's 5 in each set, so I end up with 5. Right? Yeah, okay. Number 5. 1/6 divided by 3. I'm dividing the 6th into 3 different parts, so 6 times 3 is 18. 1/18. Number 6. 4 divided by 1/6. 4 times 6 is 24. Number 7. 3 divided by 1/3. 3 times 3 is 9. Number 8. 1/4 divided by 3. 4 times 3 is 12. And since I'm making the 4th even smaller, it is a 1/12 in this situation. And number 9. So it's almost identical to the other one. Let's go with this marker instead. 5 divided by 1/4. I'm splitting each of the 5s up into 4 different parts, so 5 times 4 is 20. Number 10. Amy can run. Amy can run 1/10 of a mile per minute. How many minutes will it take her to run 3 miles? So 1/10 of a mile per minute. So 3 divided by 1/10. How many minutes will it take her to run the 3 miles? So 3 times 10 is 30. We end up with that. Number 11. Jeremy has 3 yards of ribbon to use for wrapping gifts. He cuts the ribbon into pieces that are 1/4 yard long. How many pieces of ribbon does he have after? So we have 3 yards, which we're dividing up into quarters. So 3 times 4 is 12. So we end up with 12 pieces of ribbon when we're done. Next page, P158. Oh yeah, we're doing great on time. Kaylee cuts half a loaf of bread into 4 equal parts. What fraction of the whole loaf does each of the 4 parts represent? So for this one, we end up with a half times, divided into 4. Okay, 2 times 4 is 8, and then since we're making it even smaller, we're making a fraction even smaller, we put the 1 on top, so it's actually 1/8. When you divide a fraction by less than 1, when you divide a fraction that is less than 1 by a whole number greater than 1, is the quotient less than, greater than, or equal to? So we're talking about in this situation right here. Is 1/8 less than, greater than, or equal to 1/2? It's less than. Number 3. A recipe for chicken and rice calls for 3½ pounds of chicken. Lisa wants to adjust the recipe so it yields 1½ times as much chicken and rice. How much chicken will she need? So instead of dividing, this time we're going to have to multiply. Let me get a new sheet of paper. Three and a half times 1½ I cannot do these this way. I have to make them improper fractions. So I do 3 times 2, which is 6, plus 1, which is 7 halves, times 1 times 2, which is 2, plus 1, which is 3 halves. And then I multiply across. 7 times 3 is 21. 2 times 2 is 4. So now I have an improper fraction. I need to change it to a mixed number. 4 into 21 goes how many times? Well, 5 times 4 is 20. I think that's as close as we're going to get. So then I end up with a 1 down there. So 5 1/4 ends up being our answer. Number 4. Tim and Sue share a small pizza. Tim eats 2/3 of the pizza. Sue eats half as much pizza as Tim does. What fraction of the pizza does Sue eat? So half as much. Okay? So 2 times 1 is 2 over 3 times 2, which is 6. I can divide out. They're both even, so I can divide out a 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So she ate 1/3 of the pizza. She ate half as much. Half of 2/3 is 1/3. Number 5. In gym class, you run the 10 times, no, sorry, if I could just talk. In gym class, you run 3/5 of a mile. Your coach runs 10 times that distance each day. How far does your coach run each day? So I run 3/5. My coach runs 10 times that. Okay, so I have 3 times 10, 3 times 1, which is 3, add on the 0, and then 5 times, remember we have that invisible 1 there, 5 times 1 is 5. What is 30 divided by 5? 6, because 6 times 5 is 30. And number 6, Sterling plants tree that is 4 3/4 feet tall. 1 year later, the tree is 5 2/5 feet tall. How many feet did the tree grow? Okay, so I'm going to put the larger number on top so I can subtract, because we are looking for the difference in tree growth. Now, I cannot subtract currently. I have to have common denominators. Do you remember how we get common denominators? In this particular case, the 5 and the 4 have nothing to do with each other, so I am just going to multiply 5 times 4 and 4 times 5. 5 times 4 is 20. 4 times 5 is 20. Even if sometimes there's a faster way to do it, you can always get a common denominator if you just multiply the two denominators by each other. Sometimes there's a faster way, but it always works this way. It just means that when you get to the end of the problem, you have to simplify more. That's all. So whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. I multiplied by a 4 there, so I have to multiply by a 4 there. 2 times 4 is 8. I multiplied by a 5 here. I have to multiply by a 5 here. 3 times 5 is 15. Okay. I am going to need to borrow because I cannot do 8 minus 15. So I need to borrow. So I'm going to take the 5. Let me get a different color. I'm going to take the 5, turn it into a 4. Take the 1 that I took over here and do 20 over 20. Okay? Because that's equal to 1, right? So 20 plus 8 is 28 over 20. The 15 over 20 just goes over. So that's what I have now. I have 4 minus 4, which is a 0. Okay, so now I'm just concerned about over here. 8 minus 5 is 3. 2 minus 1 is 1. And then it all goes over our common denominator, which is 20. So 13/20 is how many feet the tree grew. Okay, have a good day, guys. See you later. Bye.